If you don't know this lore, World Soul Saga will make no sense. I think I already do know this lore, but let's see if Belial has anything to reveal to us about what is going on in World of Warcraft and how it will lead into the World Soul Saga.
Almost 29 years ago to the day, in Warcraft 1, Azeroth was just a kingdom, and Lane Rin, Varian's father, was its king. Soon, though, it would move from kingdom to planet, and by the time we reached the Legion expansion, that planet had a soul.
Oh, don't worry, the next video.
From a piece of land for orcs and humans to fight over, to Chris Metzen up on stage, commanding an audience of hundreds of thousands, laying out the World Soul Saga.
The Infinity Saga. I mean World Soul Saga. Sorry. By the way, Blizzard did say they were inspired by the Infinity Saga to do the World Soul Saga. So yeah, we're gonna get Thanos.
War Within. We will.
Thanos snap will happen in World of Warcraft Midnight. We will lose for the first time in that expansion, and then we'll win at the end.
Literally delve
Guaranteed.
Beneath the surface of the world, closer to her domain, and a group of Earthen, some of whom hold fast to their ancient charge, others perhaps less so. Today, we're going to go from start to finish. You will completely know what Azeroth is.
Nice.
From
All
foundation
right. Get ready.
to future.
I'm excited.
To today's sponsor.
U.GG. Click the link in the description or head to u.gg/wow for the best data-driven talents. And now, where things get fun, is Season 3 has been out for just a little bit longer than the last time I talked about u.gg. So we can actually look at Mythic Plus and Raid tier lists that are based off those large sample sizes of actual players playing content. It's quite nice to know that Discipline Priest is quite happy in Raid right now, which makes me happy. And for damage, I mean, damn, Beast Mastery Hunter, have I been sleeping in my old main? It's really interesting to know. And it really is that simple. They crunch the numbers from the countless thousands of player runs, and they give you all those learnings.
Yeah, we have lost before at the Broken Shore, but that was like a lost battle. That's what I was saying. We lost a battle there, but we didn't lose the war. I mean, I'm talking about, yeah, King Varian died, we got our asses kicked, all that stuff. Gul'dan won that battle for sure. But I'm talking about we're going to take a substantial L, like a real, we're going to lose the boss fight L in Midnight. That's what's going to happen. We've never gone into an ultimate endgame boss fight and just straight up lost. We did lose to the Lich King, but we got resurrected and saved. I'm talking about we're going to take a full-on L. I don't even know if there's going to be loot at the end of this fight. That's how hard of an L we're going to take.
In one place for free. u.gg/wow or click my link down below. It's an awesome service and an awesome site.
Oh, Jesus, man, you gotta work through
Warcraft
next week.
2 introduced the first deep story for our world. We found Sargeras, a demon lord who was defeated and imprisoned by Aeguin 2,500 years before the Second War. And just as the orcs were about to storm Lordaeron's capital and claim victory, Gul'dan split the Horde's forces, diverting two clans on his quest for personal power to claim what lay in the tomb of
Saved
Sargeras.
by Gul'dan.
And with that, and the demise of Gul'dan, we discovered that the Shadow Council actually worshipped demons, and that this ruling council had been playing the Horde like puppets. So now, via Gul'dan,
Damn
we had
warlocks, can't
Sargeras,
trust 'em.
our largest scale antagonist, and for some reason, he wanted our planet. And so a question lingered. Why?
But we still killed her. King Julian, we still killed her.
Warcraft 3 released, bringing with it the cosmic guts of this series' setting. Now, the planet itself was actually named Azeroth, and across the ocean was a new continent from the now named Eastern Kingdoms, where all our action thus far had taken place. And at the center of this sea was the Maelstrom,
Yes,
once
the
the Well of
twisting
Eternity
Maelstrom.
described as a font of arcane energy. The Well, of course, is where the seed of our world soul lore was sown. It's a font of pure energy from the world itself. With this, the Burning Legion was also introduced, fleshing out what was really going on with Sargeras. Initially, their whole crusade was to consume all magic in the great dark beyond. Nothing to do with life or void, just magic. And where had the most magic, the most arcane?
I mean, the Maelstrom just to me is the source of the hentai Deathwing fight. That's how I'll remember it forever from now on. Unfortunately.
In known existence, Azeroth. Sargeras' motivation literally read as follows. The great dark god of the nameless void resolved to destroy the fledgling world and claim its energies as his own.
Yeah, see, that's what we thought. I think now all of this is like Titan propaganda. I don't think, we do have evidence, yes, of Sargeras destroying worlds. He probably was destroying worlds. But I don't think he was trying to destroy Azeroth with his sword and everything that he was up to. I think he was trying to free her. And the Titans have been keeping her in prison this entire time. And everything we know about Sargeras is now being called into question because who have we heard everything about Sargeras from? The Titans. Yeah, and we know they lie. They lie a lot.
Even back then, it's curious that Azeroth was called fledgling, almost as if she would grow up one day. But as it stood, it was a font of energy via the Well of Eternity, waiting to be claimed.
Sam brings up
Warcraft 3 didn't stop there because
huge,
it's where the Titans emerge, mysterious arcane beings from space that we thought of as gods. They had defeated the old gods, ordered the planet,
just like I was right about the pirate expansion.
Thousands of years pass, and of course, we appear. Now, much of Dragonflight has been about unpicking that story, but back then, the two most important things were this. First, the Titans were gods of the arcane.
Yes,
they thought Azeroth was super important. Second,
gods
those
of arcane
old gods
and order
were imprisoned underground, and it wouldn't take long for us to start asking if they were burrowing towards something at the center of our planet. It is even in Warcraft 3 that Azeroth may have had her first canonical action, and that's because in the Orcish campaign, Karn invokes the Earth Mother to head off a band of Centaur. Now, the Earth Mother of Tauren religion is, of course,
Azeroth.
now known to be Azeroth.
Yeah.
So there you go, in a way. That is the first canonical mention of Azeroth really as the being that we would understand her to be, of course, through the lens of Tauren mythology. And that is the state of affairs as of Warcraft 3. Azeroth is the name of our planet.
Yes.
Our planet is full of arcane, but it's not like the Titans. Those Titans, though, they are gods of the arcane, and she is some sort of wellspring of the stuff. Sargeras wanted all that magic, and the old gods...
And everybody's fighting over Azeroth. The Titans are trying to order her in some way. The old gods are trying to corrupt her into, something else in some way. I think she's the balancer of forces. I've said this before. She's like the Anakin Skywalker of World of Warcraft. She's going to bring balance to the Force. She must be something from both or like an in-between because all these forces are vying to get to her. They want to get to her first. And I don't think the old gods would be trying to get to her if she was just a Titan that, is going to come out and kick their asses. I don't think so. She's something else, and we're going to find out.
They probably wanted the same. That was the foundation as we entered the world of Warcraft.
Cadence, I disagree. I don't think she was
Tauren
talking about
have
Shadowlands.
very long known that something powerful lay inside our planet. Right now, lore states that they are essentially some of Azeroth's very firstborn children. One of the first quests in Mulgore is to earn your place in Thunderbluff by passing the rites of the Earth Mother. And when you get to the Tauren capital, you'll find a lore book called Sorrow of the Earth Mother. And in this book, it speaks of how the Earth Mother created Anshe and Musha, the sun and the moon. Of course, the sun and the moon of Azeroth, Earth Mother, is Azeroth. And that lore, nearly 20 years later, would be firmly rewoven into our modern story through the Tauren tale named Eyes of the Earth Mother. So, since vanilla, it has always seemed that the Earth Mother was part of this. But the hard edge of what Azeroth actually is, that took a long, long time to unfold and many, many turns. We could begin today with Alderman being our first interaction with Titan Keepers, or Cthulhu himself and what the old gods even wanted. But in a way, the Titan end of the story, that kicks off in Ungoro Crater. The initially random-feeling lore of dinosaurs in a meteor crater was somewhat fleshed out and recontextualized in Wrath of the Lich King when we ventured to Sholazar Basin and realized that that's actually where the Titan Keepers were creating life in Azeroth. Look,
Sylvanas did talk about many times like the cycle of life and death and breaking them, and those are a prison. But that doesn't mean that's what she was referring to when she said this world is a prison. It could literally be that the fact that the world is a prison. We talked about the how are you guys not convinced by the images from the cinematic looking exactly like the same balls that were imprisoning the dragon, the freaking elemental dragons, whatever they were called, Eridikron and Viranath and Farak. They were imprisoned in the same looking, same shit. Yeah, so it looked exactly the same. This world is a prison. She is imprisoned.
Elsewhere in the halls.
Emerald Dream being used to keep her asleep. Emerald Nightmare trying to wake her up. Old Gods trying to wake her up. Deathwing trying to wake her up. The Titans trying to keep her asleep. Like, that shit's been going on for a while now.
Of lightning and deeper into Ulduar, we discovered the Titans used a spark of Azeroth's energy to create the Titan Forge.
The Incarnates, yes.
We were discovering Titan installations that ran deeper and deeper into our world, showing they had big plans for Azeroth. Ultimately, we discovered...
We're going to find out a lot about these Titan installations because Chris Metzen literally said in his speech during BlizzCon that we're going to find out why all these Titan installations are slapped into the side of our planet. So we're going to find out what the purpose of all of these are.
Algalon the...
That's probably to keep the prison locked up. Probably what it is.
Observer, and with his seeming purpose being to reoriginate
wow, it's all about
the
Sleeping
planet,
Beauty. Yeah, basically.
Which essentially means destroy all life and start over. Suddenly, in Wrath of the Lich King, the Titans didn't seem like purely good guys anymore, being just as willing as Sargeras to wipe us out in order to secure their goal.
Right. We learned about the reorigination
That's not to say
chamber.
that in Wrath we thought they were straight up villains. It's more that we understood they operated at a scale incomprehensible to us, and that is why the lore of the Titans felt as grand as the mountains of the Storm Peaks, where we found that lore. Now, of course, to talk about Azeroth actually becoming a character, we do need to deal with the Void side of the equation, and just what those old gods were doing anyway. The Burning Crusade introduced the Ethereals, along with the wild backstory of their homeworld. They hailed from a world called Karesh, one that had been completely ravaged by a Void Lord named Dementius. Now, these Void Lords, they are the very same beings who actually sent the old gods into the Great Dark, spreading forth like a terrible disease infecting all that they touched. Now, the why to this is that while Karesh was indeed destroyed by Dementius, Dementius at that time, and it explains why he was really quite small and pathetic, he barely had the energy to manifest, right, from, into reality, right?
Wow, I didn't know that.
He had a fraction of his full potential power, and yes, look what happened to Karesh.
So I think we can agree that Void Lords are substantially more powerful than Titans. Like, I don't think we've seen an exact match to Titans yet. Like, we know there's old gods, right? And then we know the Titans are more powerful than them because we've literally seen Titans just rip old gods out of planets and fucking rip them apart. Titans are clearly more powerful than old gods. But then above Titans, there's Void Lords, which I think are way more powerful than Titans because we're talking about this guy. He barely, got himself. He was barely able to like summon himself, and he destroyed this entire planet. It's just a fraction of his power, and that's crazy. How powerful are Void Lords? And then beyond them, what does the light have to offer to counter that? It's an interesting thought. I don't think Naru certainly can't compete with that. There's no way. Illidan killed a Naru. There's no way that they can compete with a Void Lord. So what does the light have to compete with that? That's crazy. Are they the ultimate power in our universe?
So at this time, speculation...
Maybe Azeroth could compete with that.
...was circling around the idea that if perhaps they could infect Azeroth, because we knew there was old gods chained up everywhere, and of course
never seen a first one fight
to us in Wrath of the Lich King. This is going back to the older days of Warcraft lore speculation. We would have wondered, would it spawn a Void Titan? Would it spawn a Void Lord like Dementius and destroy everything? Is that what would happen? Would a being like Dementius manifest but in full power? That, though, was early days speculation because much of the story...
Yeah, but I think this definitely is more evidence towards the fact that Azeroth is not a Titan. Because if she's just a Titan, a Void Lord could show up and just bitch slap her. That doesn't make no sense. So she's got to be more powerful than that.
Still lay unwritten. But to some of the more enterprising out there, a few things were starting to click into place. We all wondered, well, what would happen if one of these old gods actually burrowed down, reached their goal? What would that terrible thing do? But then there is a line from Yogg-Saron. It is a line in which he calls Azeroth a miserable little seedling. And that certainly does make you think, what is a seedling? Well, it's something that eventually is going to grow into a plant and likely bloom. Maybe, just maybe, that is our first hint that there's a little bit more to Azeroth, that she isn't just some large battery of arcane energy. Elemental torment followed from the Lich King's fall, and Magni Bronzebeard was one of the first to sense Deathwing's elemental disturbance deep within the world. He felt her pain, and he tried to enact an ancient earthen ritual to essentially speak to the planet. And with the fateful words, "Within me is the earth itself, we are one, I am of it, and it..."
Hold on, real quick. Magni, he became made of diamond. And you guys remember the old god line where it says, what's it called? The diamond something has been made upon. You know how Magni keeps trying to talk to Azeroth? Don't you think that by doing that, he might be waking her up? And the old gods often, it looks like their goal has been to wake up Azeroth, to free her, right? We've talked about this a lot. The Titans have been trying to keep her asleep, keep her in stasis, keep her imprisoned, while the old gods are trying to free her and wake her up and release her. Wouldn't it make sense that Magni is in fact a pawn? Every time he tries to talk to Azeroth, he is in fact, the King of Diamonds has been made a pawn. Yes, that's the line. Wouldn't it be interesting if in fact that every time he tries to talk to Azeroth, or by trying to talk to her, he is helping the old gods wake her up? Because if you look at what the old gods have done, everything they've done has been an attempt to wake her up. The Emerald Nightmare, what does a nightmare do? A dream will keep you asleep. A nice dream, you'll have a good time. But a nightmare oftentimes will wake you up. That's what the whole point of the Emerald Nightmare is to wake up Azeroth. They couldn't do it that way. So what they try to do? Start making a lot of noise and knocking on her front door. With who? Deathwing. Basically destroying the outer crust of the world, causing the shattering and all that stuff. He was trying to wake her up. That's why the whole corruption of Deathwing happened. They were like, okay, we can't wake her up with the nightmare. Let's start knocking on the front door and see if that'll wake her up. That didn't work either. We showed up, defeated her. But now you got Magni out there, right? Magni out there talking to her, trying to talk. She's sleeping, man. Leave her asleep. He's trying to talk to her. He's been made a pawn. He's trying to wake her up now, too. And he doesn't even know it. And then last but not least, Sargeras plunging his sword into the planet. He wasn't trying to kill her. He was trying to break the walls of her outer prison, wake her up. All of this stuff makes sense. All of it makes sense. Everything, if you just put it in that perspective, old gods are trying to wake her up. Titans are trying to keep her asleep. Everything starts to make sense.
Is of me,
it all
I
lines
listen
up.
for the mountain's reply. He completed the ritual. Voices came to him as he turned into diamond. And this happening to Magni is something
Dreams
that
play
would
out in the last 7 seconds,
pivotal,
so maybe she's about to wake up that cadence.
Not until 4 years had passed. After that, much of Cataclysm circled back to the aspects. But for the World Soul story, it's really the bronze stuff that's important, because we discover through the caverns of time that the Titans had put into place the one true timeline that all led towards one thing, their ultimate goal with Azeroth. Now, in Cataclysm, another major thing happened. Rathian hatched after being saved in the questing that players do in the Badlands when they're leveling up. Rathian is saved, and he starts making waves. In a questline exclusive to rogues, he starts taking out all the remaining black dragons in the world.
Right.
And he also senses the Burning Legion's impending invasion. Rathian, of course, then went a little bit extreme. Yes, he was having fun making legendary cloaks and various things for us, but really what he wanted to do was either unite the factions together so the whole planet could stand together as one, or, have one faction,
Only one faction
wipe
left.
the floor with the other one, and take over the whole show.
Right.
The one thing that Rathian basically wanted, though, was, in his view, an Azeroth super strong and ready to fight, because he knew bad things were happening. Now, whilst in Pandaria, he ate the heart of Lei Shen.
That's right, I forgot he did this.
True story that I'm not going to fully go into
insane.
right now. Basically, through some fun mechanics, within that heart was a part of Aman'Thul's soul. And that is when everything that we players had been speculating about for years locked into place. At a point early in my career doing YouTube,
I completely forgot he did this.
I profoundly remember that scene with Rathian, and after that scene, everything was different. The way we thought about everything just changed, because the voice of Aman'Thul spoke through Rathian and announced, "There are 1,000,000,000 worlds and one above the rest, that we must rebuild the final Titan." And with that, it started to become clear that world above all others is Azeroth.
Yeah.
It is that.
Now, is she a Titan? Like, people could use this as proof and say, well, look, Azeroth's a Titan. It's very clear. Aman'Thul just spoke through Rathian and said it. Well, everything the Titans say needs to be taken with a grain of salt because they're a bunch of lying scumbags. So we'll see if that's
world,
true.
And also, it is the final Titan. This is likely a distress signal sent out by Aman'Thul, just as he and the Pantheon were defeated by Sargeras. In fact, something that happened not long after he departed Azeroth, many tens and tens and tens and tens of thousands of years in the world's past, after, of course, the Titans had finished their initial process of ordering the world's surface. Clearly then, these Titans, they saw Azeroth as their final and only hope.
So it's the last Titan, then Aman'Thul.
From Mists of Pandaria, either of two expansions could have happened. Blizzard went for doing Warlords of Draenor first, and while there's a lot I'm dying to talk about there, our story properly picks up with Legion.
We're gonna find out.
Now, of course, out of Draenor, we did have Khadgar emerging, sort of freshly remade as a new main character in the game, and then Au Gul'dan, who in fact ventured to, what I mentioned at the start of today's video, the Tomb of Sargeras.
Every time someone says Au Gul'dan, I think they're saying Australian Gul'dan. And I'm like, why is a Gul'dan from Australia? This makes no sense. And
counterpart in our own timeline.
It's the alternate timeline.
And that does mean that, yes, that is the very same Tomb of Sargeras that looked like this in 1995.
That's crazy.
As the Legion's invasion
the 1995 map is not relevant
bringing
again.
Bran and Khadgar to Ulduar, he told them straight up that Azeroth was a Titan, and he spoke for her. But there was no time to dwell, because by then, the Legion had returned. Azeroth was their prize. Doomsayers flooded the streets of Dalaran, talking about how our world was screaming out. Every reference was to
I'm just trying to get to the bank and exchange some loot or get a repair done. Why are these guys always bothering everyone?
Now, a person, a being of some form, and one that Sargeras was coming for. Warcraft Chronicle also released around this time, and it was doing heavy lifting in the background, like making the whole World Soul thing canonical. We also learnt that the Titans had been slain by Sargeras, but before the final blow was struck,
he beat the shit out of him.
Aman'Thul begged Sargeras to stop his madness. Aman'Thul said they found a planet that could give them everything they wanted, perfect order in the cosmos. Sargeras didn't care, or more likely didn't believe Aman'Thul, and because of that, he promptly ended the Titan Pantheon. However, at the very last moment, Norgannon saved their souls and sent them back to Azeroth, their ultimate and final hope. Everything then was circling in on how important the planet was. We even got...
By the way, always very interesting that that Sargeras is covered in runes.
Likely didn't believe...
Right? Covered in runes. What the hell does this mean? We know where rune magic comes from. Mr. Meldraxus the Primus, yeah. It's our boy the Primus. And was he evolved here? Did Sargeras lose his mind because he was under the influence of domination magic? We've known that causes people to lose their minds. I don't know, there's a lot.
Aman'Thul, and because of that, he promptly ended the Titan Pantheon. However, at the very last moment, Norgannon saved their souls.
Who's the Titan who knows how to do domination magic? Aman'Thul. We know that.
Their ultimate and final hope. Everything then was circling in on how important the planet was. We even got a glimpse into Sargeras' true intentions with the jeweled Scepter of Sargeras artifact weapon, because along with that weapon came extensive lore. Its lore explained that after the War of the Ancients, Sargeras meditated on his defeat and was suddenly astral projected to Azeroth. He went to the planet's core. She opened one eye, and they saw each other. And from that moment, Sargeras understood the true nature of our world and became obsessed. There's a key detail there. Azeroth's eye. That's very meaningful, because that story, I didn't
even know this story existed.
Eyes and Sorrow of the Earth Mother. And Azeroth's eyes are continually linked with essentially her power. You know, It is a story then that impresses to us the importance of Sargeras' vision and essentially shows us the resulting obsession.
Yeah,
and it
why
is
he was so interested in our planet.
Obsession that essentially causes Sargeras to, as our struggles pay off and the Titans capture him in his final, last, spiteful move, try to simply destroy the planet, making sure that nobody else could.
Was he trying to destroy the planet? I don't know. It wasn't really a hack and slash. You know, we've seen pictures of him slashing through it. He didn't really do that. He kind of just gave it a poke, right? Like he was trying to open. He was trying to free. I don't know. Destroy the planet might not be the right words. I'm just saying.
Have what he wanted. Or you could wonder, did it actually go way deeper than that?
I don't know, Cadence.
Because right after Azeroth was stabbed, Azerite began to bleed. And Azerite made us ask way more questions than it answered. Azeroth was on the edge of death, and we got to the Chamber of the Heart, an interface with the world soul itself, and one so secret the Keepers didn't even know about it. Magni was on hand to get her back in shape, but between the faction conflict and N'Zoth finally getting a shot, the world soul story was barely relevant to saving her. Yet in reality, all the plot threads in BFA were leading towards one plan, a cosmic scheme that understood what Azeroth was and how to use her. From Helya's deals with Valkyr, Anduin and Sarfang's friendship to the burning of Teldrassil, all wove into Sylvanas' plan to hand Azeroth to the Jailer. Why? Well, we'll not go into the fine details of that just today, but in Shadowlands we discover the fun madness of a broker called Farim. He speculated that there were not 6 forces in the cosmos, that it was more like 8, with an additional creator force and an antithesis force to that creator force. There was also a new group introduced called the First Ones, whose bodies made up the cosmos, but we didn't know if they made Azeroth, or if she made them, or if any of it even matters anymore.
Shadowlands
lore. Reading in between the lines of Holly Longdale speaking about how even as a player she felt that WoW's story got off track in Shadowlands, and how Metzen, from what I understand, is essentially pulling WoW into a cohesive direction with the bits that he's got, but firmly into the direction of what WoW kind of should be.
Yeah,
I've got to
get a little
wonder
wacky
how much of this stuff will A, matter, or B, just be relegated to background and motivation, or maybe just won't be anywhere near as important as perhaps the team thought it would be back then in Shadowlands. Because ultimately we know that in the expansion where this is finally resolved, the final time...
Cadence, another reason why I think that Sargeras wasn't trying to destroy the planet is he was sitting there in those clouds doing God knows what, right? We uncover him all of a sudden. We find him there. You know, he's like in the clouds and he looks back and he's like, oh shit, they found me, kind of thing. Like, oh shit, they're coming for me. Why wasn't he just right there then? He could have already been destroying the planet, but he wasn't. When he was under those clouds, he was doing something else. I know he was whispering to her, talking, trying to figure out how to get in. And then it looked like it was a last ditch effort. He just plunged his sword in. But if he wanted to destroy the planet, it looked like he had an opportunity. He was right there. He was already there. Looked like he had his chance, and he didn't. Planet, same. Oh, yeah, that's right. Real's going to tell me that Azeroth is flat. I forgot. That's right. None of this makes any sense. He was trying to slide into those DMs. There you go.
Titan, well, we know it takes place in Northrend.
Maybe he was just observing.
I
think he's observed enough.
So what Shadowlands all means is this. Sylvanas' life sucked, her own death was worse, but true death basically for her would mean going straight to the Maw, and that was really bad. So to stop that, she ended up siding with the Jailer, who had a plan to change the nature of reality himself. Of course, kind of lied to Sylvanas what his goals were. Now, how
is that the Jailer or the Primus? You guys tell me.
Sylvanas what his goals were.
What's the outline look like right there? Is that the Jailer or is that the Primus sitting in the shadows whispering to her, getting her to come? So she could meet the fucking, like, overtaken domination magic Jailer.
Now, how do you change the nature of reality, rebuild the whole thing? Well, you take over that creator force that Farim was talking about. So, Cut the sepulcher of the first ones, where the whole plan is actually supposed to be happening. Azeroth's world soul is at the center of reality, or at the very least is absurdly powerful.
In the novel, it was Zoval.
You know, it can sort of connect as a central point in, you know, every cosmic force to the various different Zerats, and then the domination magic can spread, you know, kind of out from, you know, Azeroth's.
Like, but we know, someone made a point that if you watch all the cinematics from Shadowlands, Sylvanas does a lot of side eyes at Zoval, like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, she has a lot of moments where she looks at Zoval and questions what they're up to. And someone was saying that maybe that was because the first whispers or conversations that Sylvanas had with Zoval were like more of a pure version of Zoval. And then as the domination magic became stronger and stronger, and the Primus's plan, you know, as he was controlling the jailer, started to come to fruition, the jailer's actions started to make less and less sense to Sylvanas, because she's like, is this the same guy I was talking to like last year or the last 5 years? Like, is this the same guy? He seems to be a bit off. And it seems like she was catching on to that, but never really figured it out. And there's so many cinematics where she kind of side-eyes him as he's talking or as he's saying things, especially with the whole domination of Anduin and everything. Lots of moments where she questions things like, what's going on here? This doesn't seem like this was what we talked about. And that probably hints more at the fact that he was being controlled. And it was all the Primus's plan.
Spread, dominate all the other cosmic forces, and with that job done, the jailer's got to basically the keys to reality, and he remakes it where, you know, he's the boss and maybe has good character motivations. What was clear is Azeroth was far more than just a Titan. And what was clear is that if any one group of beings perhaps could control her, then she would become the ultimate version of their thing. The ultimate Void Lord, the final Titan. Looking back at the Titans then, why was their bid for Azeroth so much more important than anyone else's? And the answer is, simply isn't. We just happen to live in Azeroth, and the Titans are the last people who had the victory there.
The Titans are the media of Azeroth, right? They are the propaganda makers. That's why we always saw them as good guys. They're not. Look at all these runes, by the way. Look at all this shit everywhere. And this fucking guy, this corrupt piece of shit with his rune magic that he got from the Primus in exchange for giving the Primus the ability to look into time. Corrupt ass guy. By the way, what the hell is this? This is so phallic. What the hell? I've never noticed this before. What is Blizzard doing here? What the hell is the art team? Starry dicks all over the floor. What is going on?
And pretty much the whole point of Dragonflight's
never noticed that before.
lore is that the Titans are beings in the cosmos. They have their aims, and we do not fully understand them right now, but we do know that they will essentially relentlessly pursue what they want. Dragonflight clearly has shown the
now I can't unsee it. Now every time they show the freaking Pantheon, I can't unsee it.
Not evil, I would say, but neutral, self-serving, self-styled deities who prize their view of order above everyone else's, even perhaps...
This guy, man, this guy's a piece of shit. I'm telling you guys, this guy's a piece of shit. He really is. He is the ultimate. Like, if the other Titans are jerks, this guy is the leader of the jerk army. I don't know. He's a piece of shit.
Our own mortal morality. Odin's edict showed how ignorant they consider mortal life to be. Neltharion's annotations over the book of, the ordering of Azeroth and the old gods, and that basically shows that it wasn't necessarily a fight between good and evil, but two factions who wanted a lot of control. 10.1.5's Time Waste showed that if any one force dominated Azeroth, it's bad news. We see Uldaroth, we see the Legion Azeroth, we see all the different permutations, including the Azeroth, the old god one, right? And all the meanings of all those different timelines I've talked about on this channel. What I want to do is bring us back to the World Soul Saga itself, where today you basically see in this video what Azeroth is. Once a Titan in the game's canon, now potentially something much greater. It is currently understood by the characters within World of Warcraft in the actual universe that Azeroth is a nascent Titan. Basically a little bit like Argus, but not demented and, driven to, well, all the torture and so on that Argus was.
Someone made a comment on one of my YouTube videos saying, what if Azerite is blue and yellow because her actual blood color is yellow, but the blue is like domination magic seeping in because they're trying to control her? Possible. I'm not completely convinced on that yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was the reveal.
That Argus was. The question then will be, as Metzen said, what is this conspiracy that is maybe...
It could also be just, you know, bluish purple and yellow because she is both the void and the light. She's like the combination of the two. That could also be.
At the end, why are there all of these Titan machines across the world? And ultimately, we'll probably learn that Azeroth isn't just a Titan. We'll learn the true nature of Azeroth and why she represents ultimate victory to the Titans. We'll maybe see there's no cosmic force worthy of controlling her alone, and that in the end, we're maybe all going to have to fight for an understanding between everybody because, and this is only the most subtle of story beats at the minute, but something is coming for Azeroth, and I don't think it's Void. I think there's something more spooky, more dangerous, different.
Yep.
Of course, the first challenge
is
here.
And on all of these Titan constructs are runes. Very true, Sarah. Look, they're using... Domination magic is control. What are the Titans all about? Control and order. It totally makes sense that those two align perfectly.
Are Illyria, Xalatath, and getting Void on site, or at least Sol.
It was not from the video.
Between
and that was not from me right now.
And Midnight.
Out of
but
context.
Ultimately, this World Soul Saga is driving towards one conflict, one area of strife. Us and the Titans.
That's right.
Upon their return, which of course Iridikron is working towards because he just wants to kill them. Of course, the Titans, from their perspective, want our World Soul as much as anyone else, and if the Incarnates are right, they will be pretty much as brutal as anyone else in order to secure their goal. And with that,
boom,
you understand what the World Soul is and where it fits into the picture of Warcraft. For your next video, I think you should check out this bit of lore next, and we are currently working on a really good one to follow from this video.
It's a really good video.
Understand even more of the fundamental concepts that are going into this universe. All right, check the video out, and I'll see you over there.
Yeah, great video. Really nice explanation and breakdown of basically all the lore you need to know.
Waste to this realm.
Heretic, thank you for the sub on YouTube. Basically all the, welcome to our Scourge. All the lore that you need to know leading into the World Soul Saga. And I'm excited because a lot of this lore, all these loose ends, they're going to come together, boys and girls, and we're going to find out exactly what the Titans have been up to, what Azeroth is all about, and what is going to happen next.